It's one of the great passages that we find in the Bible, one of the passages set for St. James's Day that we've recently celebrated. Matthew recording those words of Jesus at the end of Matthew chapter 20, where he records Jesus as saying, "It will not be so among you, but whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. And whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave, just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." It's a reversal of worldly expectations, a reversal of worldly patterns. Greatness, if that's what we're concerned about, measured by our capacity to serve, our capacity to be there for the sake of others. As part of an interesting conversation last week with some church leaders trying to work out how to be church, how to do church in these circumstances that we find ourselves in when we're still limited on how we can meet and what we do when we meet together. It led to a conversation, a discussion about the difference between being church and doing church when we're gathered together, as we usually do on a Sunday, and being church and doing church for the rest of the week when we're God's scattered, dispersed people in his world, when we go about our business apart from our church buildings. The Apostle Paul, writing to some of the early Christians in 2 Corinthians, says this: "But we have this treasure of the gospel in clay jars, so that it may be made clear that this extraordinary power belongs to God and does not come from us. We are afflicted," he says, "in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be made visible in us." Treasure, he says, in clay jars. Being Jesus, showing Jesus to the world, not always understood, not always accepted, sometimes rejected, sometimes attacked, but not responding back in that way. Responding back in a Jesus-shaped way, full of grace, full of love, full of hope, full of forgiveness. So that in us, in hundreds and hundreds of small ways, the world experiences what my friend described as God moments, God encounters for themselves, through encounter with us. Is what our diocesan mission statement tries to encapsulate. Faithful worship, confident discipleship, we say, and joyful service out in the world, so that people get to encounter God for themselves, even through people just like us. Some time ago now, a report from the Church of England called Towards the Conversion of England said this: "We are convinced that England will never be converted until the laity, until those people who don't wear this ring of confidence around their necks, use the opportunities for evangelism daily afforded by their various professions, crafts and occupations. That being so, the Christian laity should be recognised as the priesthood of the church in the working world, And as the church militant in action in the mission fields of politics, industry and commerce. And I would want to add in factories and offices and shops and homes and fields and the places where we do our leisure together. That report was 1946. One of the groups which has been looking and working together on a way forward for us as a diocese over these next years. Our growth group put it like this. Our discipleship factor, they said, our D factor, needs to be greater than 1. Each of us taking responsibility for sharing the treasure that we know that we have in these jars of clay, so that others come to know and experience that treasure for themselves. Showing Jesus, being Jesus to a waiting world. That's what we need to be as church. And so may that be true, regardless of what it might cost us in all the different places that God takes us to as his people, as his church, here in this part of his world.